to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
It is 11:03 on Edmonton Sports Talk. Thank you very much for being with us as we continue another full day of Sports Talk coverage right here on EST. You can listen on TuneIn. You can listen on iHeart. You can listen at edmontonsportstalk.com, or, of course, you can watch on YouTube, or you can listen to any of the podcasts after the fact as well. I'm solo today. Everybody else bailed on me. No Huss, no Pete Greggy. It's just me. Huss is coming in right away. Pat Greguar is going to pop by as well. Shout out to the one person. I'm just looking over on the YouTube chat. Shout out to the one person who's already waiting on the oil stream. It doesn't start for 57 minutes. Says there's one waiting in there already. They're just very eager for this split squad battle between the Oilers and the Calgary Flames tonight. Are very excited after the overtime win against the Winnipeg Jets yesterday. We got some CFL that we'll recap. Obviously, we're going to get into a bunch of NFL that we'll recap as well. Patty's going to pop by as he does on Mondays, and we'll set up the Monday Nighters as well. But there's Huss. We can hit some CFL before Pete Greggy slides in. Poker tournament tomorrow night. It's going to be a good time as well. Huss, what a time to be alive. You must be just, everybody's like, Huss victory lap incoming with the Chiefs again. This guy, Bombers have won 6 in a row. Chiefs haven't lost. How could your life be any better, Huss?
Well, the only way it could have been better is if the Saints would have covered that 2.5 yesterday. And then it would have been a perfect 4-0 week of the picks in the NFL.
Oh.
I did go 4-0 against the spread in the CFL.
Well done. I was 3-1.
We hit the parlay. And by the way, I couldn't be at the show on Thursday. Shout out to you guys, because we were on opposite sides of that Edmonton game, for just leaving it out.
Yeah.
Boom. Like going into NFL Sunday with the CFL parlay already cashing and 4-0, I was feeling it. And then yesterday was one of those days where, I do feel a little bit fortunate. I don't feel fortunate about that Eagles Saints game, though. I don't know if you were able to watch that, but
I watched a decent chunk of it. Yeah.
Sirianni's still an absolute moron. Made 2 insane decisions to go for it on 4th down, not taking the points. That should have cost them. And then late, when the Saints were down 5 in a beautiful cover position, comedy of errors, 3rd and 16, they do a crossing pass to Dallas Goedert. 3 Saints
they run into each other. I saw that.
And he goes all the way down, and that was that. So it wasn't perfect, but the Saints did hose our point spread parlay, but we came through with the money line parlay. That was a casher. So we've got those. And then tonight, and listen, when Pat Greguar comes in, he is going to be, I think he's a little nervous right now, because first of all, his Bills are on Monday Night Football.
Yes.
But the house callers all took care of business. And I remember he goes, well, my guy's on Monday. Yeah, your guy's on Monday, and it's all down to your guy.
You better
James
not let
Cook.
us down. Better not let us down.
James Cook. I got James Cook in fantasy. I love James Cook tonight. So I have, it's all positive vibes going into this. And I tell you what, if we could cash those other 2, win a bunch of other bets, and then finish off the weekend with the plus 1125 house callers for the lock shoppers.
Man. That's 3 cherries on top of the ice cream sundae, not just one. It'd be. So I'm just looking back at the best bets. So you went 3-1. I was 2-2, and my 2 covers were my 2 dogs again. Giants plus 6.5. They went outright, and Denver plus 6.5 went outright as well. I miss on the Saints, who you were on too, and then Houston. Totally. And I was pissed at myself. I mentioned this morning. I was torn. Houston was my last pick. I was torn on it. Everything in my being was saying, take the Rams because they always play the Niners close. And I just went away from it. It pissed me off. And then I saw the Rams come back and win that game. I was like, damn it. You got to go with the gut. But yeah, Houston ended up killing it. But yeah, the 2 dogs, again, I don't know. It's crazy.
That was insane. And listen, the Rams game, that was just a stay away game for me. The Rams have 1 offensive lineman. 2 of their top receivers are out. And then on the other side, San Francisco was out. I did, however, play Jawan Jennings in.
Did you play him in? Oh, no way.
49.5 points.
Beautiful.
Shout out to Jawan Jennings for making a good lineup. But yeah, the Houston Minnesota game, I just find I'm kind of a sucker for the Vikings. They're a really good home team. Coming off that win against San Francisco.
You've been a sucker for the Vikings for like 3 years now, buddy.
Yeah.
You always sort of have a soft spot for the Vikings.
Well, and to be honest, I guess maybe it's in the market I pay more attention to. Maybe. We get more coverage of them and all that. And I just think they've sort of been really undervalued. And I've been telling you that Sammy Darts is going to have a massive season with KOC. And it's happening right now. He was great yesterday. Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in football. But what I don't think people realize that we're seeing now week by week is just how good this defense is. I mean, CJ Stroud hadn't thrown a pick since November. They got one in the first drive. And I think the Vikes had, if I recall correctly, at least 6 sacks. So this is a really good, well-rounded football team. And Sam Darnold is in on a 1-year contract. And I think he's I heard today, let me just see if these are up right now. Yeah, no, we'll get the futures back up afterwards. But don't be surprised if Sammy Darts is on that MVP board when the futures come up tomorrow.
Oh, he deservedly should be. I mean, listen, I'd be very interested to see what the number is, to be honest with you. It should be better than you think.
Yeah, they were, and again, they were 11-1 to win the division. The Bears are not good. I think Caleb Williams is going to take a little while for him to turn into the next one that everyone thought. Your Lions are still good. Although their offense, Dusty, is just not clicking. Like every time you see them, they seem to be making big plays and, Jahmyr Gibbs going for 15 yards.
The hook and ladder and
hook and ladder was absolutely sick. That was one we needed for the house callers.
Executed
we were
perfectly.
Up on our feet at Confusion Corner when that went in. I can tell you that. But yeah, like listen, I think we're seeing some teams right now that are kind of showing us a little bit more about who they are. There were some big wins, but just back to your best bets though. I'm not sure if you saw the lock shop, but after you had power ranked Jake's selection of the touchdown a couple weeks ago, he said, well, considering what Dusty did to me, I don't mind saying that these are 2 of the stinkiest picks we've seen in the lock shop in a long time. The balls to take Denver and the Giants. And lo and behold, what it is. Listen, who is it that sent me this yesterday?
Jakey boy. Careful with the trash talk.
I got to pull this stat up. There was someone sent me this yesterday. Looking to see it. Yeah, here we are. NFL underdogs of 5.5 points or more are now 13-2 against the spread.
Wow.
This season with 9 outright wins, including 4-0 yesterday.
9 outright wins?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
I'm trying to think about what it would have been if you had the stones to parlay the Browns, the Giants, the Rams. I'm trying to think who the other big upset was yesterday.
Well, the one at Denver.
Oh, the Panthers.
And Broncos too. I think you said Browns instead of Broncos.
Browns,
I think you meant Broncos.
Right.
Yeah.
Cleveland, yeah. Denver.
Yeah, and the Panthers,
Denver, Giants, Panthers, Rams would have been 70 or 80-1 or something like that probably by the time it was all done. So huge numbers.
You know what's funny is that I mentioned earlier that the Niners are the one game that I left out when I went with Houston. The other one I briefly considered was Carolina. I was just like, you know what? Fresh start with Andy Dalton. It's not like the Raiders are world beaters. And but then I looked at it, I said, I can't be on the Panthers, the Broncos, and the Giants. I'd look absolutely ridiculous, even more ridiculous than we thought I already looked. I took the Panthers, and I will say this to give myself the little Barry Horowitz. If you go back, because there was a little bit of shock from Pat and Jake when I was riding with Carolina and Andy Dalton. Like I said, exactly that. This team isn't as bad as it looked. You cannot judge them. Bryce Young has been that bad. And I think Andy Dalton's going to come in and make them
listen, not a formidable team, but I think they'll look more like an NFL operation. And listen, as high as everyone is on the Raiders after that big comeback win in Baltimore, they are still the Raiders. This is their home opener. Don't be surprised if they fall flat on their face at home, and that is exactly what happened. So yeah, I mean, all in all, it was a great day in the lock shop, and we got these 2 games tonight, which I'm actually really looking forward to. We got doubleheader this Monday and a doubleheader next Monday. 2
more next Monday too. Oh boy,
2 more next Monday. One of the games is absolutely terrible. I believe it is Miami and Tennessee. Both teams. By the way, Tennessee, I didn't have it in the best bets. I did have a 5-game money line parlay with the Vikings, Indy, Baltimore, Detroit, and Tennessee. Will Levis is on the list. I don't know how much longer. Do we even know who the backup is in Tennessee?
Who is the backup in Tennessee? Let's look that up.
Top of my head, I couldn't think of it, but we might be seeing him really soon because Will Levis has thrown a devastating pick 6 in every game. And
Mason Rudolph.
Oh, Mason Rudolph. You know what? Throw him in there. He's started a few games. He's played with the Steelers before. Levis needs either to learn a little bit. I don't know, but it's not working right now. And Brian Callahan's starting off in his new gig 0-3 with a QB that is absolutely killing him. And we saw that it was those turnovers that flipped that game against Chicago in week number 1. And it did it again yesterday against Green Bay, and they never really had a chance to do it. But Malik Willis, I will eat it. I will take an L on my Malik Willis takes. I mean, not that he wasn't honestly one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen when he was playing for Tennessee, but this just goes to the brilliance of Matt LaFleur. And the more I watch Green Bay do what they're doing without Jordan Love, thinking about what they did the last couple seasons as they went through this transition, the more impressed I am with LaFleur. He finds a way to give his team a chance to win week in and week out. They are really well coached. They do have a good roster, but it just looked like they were so lacking a good quarterback behind Jordan Love. And listen, whatever they're doing, they're putting Malik Willis in a much better position to succeed than he ever did before in Tennessee. And he's sort of resuscitated his career as well. So big win for Green Bay. But my takeaways from both leagues coming into this Monday: the Chiefs are still the Chiefs, and the Bombers are still the Bombers.
Well, let's get into the Canadian Football League then. And Patty's going to pop by here at some point. We'll dive into the Monday Nighter. But the Bombers are still the Bombers. That game, it was crazy because, 3-0 at half. Edmonton had turned the ball over 4 times, and we're only down 3-0. You're like, this actually isn't that bad. And then it was 10-10 going into the fourth quarter. Then it's 17-10. Well, it was 10-10. Trey throws the interception. 17-10. They bring in MBT. Quick 2-and-out. And I said on the broadcast when Winnipeg got that ball with 8 minutes left, I looked to Suits and I said, this is what happens. They get the ball. They put together a drive to seal away the game. And 6 minutes later, what was happening? Brady Oliveira, second rushing touchdown of the game in the season, and it's pretty much lights out. The chicken box, whatever it was, the most awkward, bloody thing I ever seen in my life. But yeah, the Bombers bombered. I mean, that's what happened in that football game. Their offense. I mean, Brady was great. Edmonton ran the ball very well as well. But, they seal it away. They find ways to get it done. And they seal it away. And I think the way that game went down was interesting because what were the Bombers? Second last in turnover ratio going into that game. I think they were -6. Edmonton was like a +20 or +16 or whatever it was, best in the league, 17. Because they only turned the ball over 17 times all year. And they turned over it 6 times in this one game, Huss. It was remarkable stuff from the Bombers once again. Trey Ford had no chance.
Tony Jones revenge game.
We knew it was coming. The old Tony Jones revenge game.
You know what? I was thinking watching both of the games that you called this weekend in the CFL. either that we're getting to October and November when the CFL game changes a little bit, as does the weather, or maybe the CFL is just taking cues from the National Football League. But for a league that is all about passing, the Winnipeg-Edmonton game had 0 200-yard passers. Caleros went 19 of 27 for 191. Trey Ford went 10 of 17 for 131, and then MBT had 48. But it's all about the running game again.
Well, Trevor Harris was 16 of 18, and Rock Armstead ran for 207 yards. You know what I mean? In a win for the I agree with you. At least this week it was.
207 for Armstead, who was unreal. And then in the Winnipeg-Edmonton game, Brady had 127 on 18 carries for Winnipeg, and Justin Rankin had 157 on 14 carries for the Elks.
Huge game.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, these three performances are all for sure top 10 running back performances for the season. And like, I think about the way the Bombers have won in the past. It's with good defense, it's with taking care of the football, and it's controlling the football through the running game. And that is exactly what they did. So, I mean, such a big win for Winnipeg. There was so much at stake for the Elks in that game.
I know.
When you think about it. I mean, if they had won, we were talking about Winnipeg and BC being 7-7, Edmonton being 6-8 with the tiebreaker over BC and potentially the tiebreaker over Winnipeg, and then Saskatchewan in the middle at 6-7-1. You would have had 4 teams separated by 1 game. With Winnipeg's win, they really do grab a stranglehold on first place in the West because they have that tiebreaker over BC and are a game and a half up on Saskatchewan. And now the Elks are in a situation where they pretty much have to win, I would say, at minimum 3 of their final 4 games, and they have to win head-to-head against Saskatchewan.
Have to do that. I mean, that's a must win at that stage. For what do you think of Trey Ford? There's an interesting conversation going on around Edmonton this week, Huss, until at least we hear maybe Jarius Jackson announces who's going to start on Friday tomorrow. But what did you think of Trey Ford?
Well, I mean, I thought that he was who we thought we were. I mean, a guy that's an incredible athlete that'll make a few really special plays that brings everybody out of the seat, and he's a lot of fun to watch. But I think he's a guy that has some challenges at maybe not trying to do too much or making some mistakes. I mean, I said last week, I thought MBT gave the Elks a better chance to beat the Bombers. And I said to Wawanak, I mean, as much as everyone is excited to see Trey again, look at what the offense was doing with MBT. And we have seen in the past, like, the Bombers don't get pushed around very often on the ground. Now, listen, they had a huge running performance from Rankin, but I think a big part of that was they knew their number one job was to not let Trey Ford beat them with their legs and force him to throw the football. Like, he reminds me a little bit of Strevler in some ways. Like, I think he certainly is a more dangerous overall quarterback, and I think the passing game is a little bit more advanced where Strev is. But really, when that guy's in, it's just a different attack for the defense. They've got to consider more things. The Bombers were prepared. They were ready for it. And I think he struggled at times yesterday because of it. So do I think he's got a long-term future in the CFL? Absolutely. Do I think that he gave them the best chance to win against Winnipeg last week? No. And I will be interested to see whether they go to MBT or whether they roll Ford out again in this rematch, because, I mean, we all know how hard it is to win in Winnipeg at Princess Auto Stadium at any point. This is, in a lot of ways, like, this is a game they simply have to have. It's hard to imagine getting swept in this series and then turning around, running the table through the end and still being in the playoffs.
Let's just see. I haven't looked yet. Have you looked at what some of the lines are this week in the CFL?
No.
Okay, me neither. I don't even know if they're up. And I'm not going to look right away. I just brought up the CFL website so we can whip through these games and take a quick little peek at them. Okay, so what's the line in the Winnipeg-Edmonton game? Considering how it went, it's in Winnipeg. It's definitely beyond a field goal, I would think. What do you think it comes in at?
Yeah, I am going to say it is Winnipeg -5.
5, yeah.
Right in that zone, in between 4 and 6.
I could see it starting there. I wonder where it'll finish, but I could definitely see it starting at 5.
I don't think it's less than 5.
No, that's what I was. I don't, but I also don't think it's going to be 6.5. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I think it'll be somewhere between 5 and 6.5. I don't think it'll be less than 5. And they might already be up, but don't tell us yet. Let's just work through the week here, and then we'll take a quick peek.
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton. Wow, Hamilton. Boldy. You know, if Hamilton makes the playoffs, Bo's winning the MOP. Like, he leads passing in all categories. If they somehow get in, he's going to win the MOP, which is crazy. Now, I don't think they get in.
How many MOPs have been benched during the season?
Well, it's almost like this year, no matter who gets it. Well, I guess Cody Fajardo wasn't benched. He missed some time because he was hurt. But yeah, you're right. That's a good story. I don't know. Hamilton.
Brady's going to be in the mix.
He is
for this moving forward. I mean, it was all this big. Oh, he's doing great, but he hasn't got a touchdown. Well, he had
a couple now. He'll get a few more.
Not there. He'll get into the zone more before. But as far as this Hamilton BC goes, Hamilton is on this heater right now. BC is coming off the bye. I'm going to say it'll be BC -4.5.
Yeah. No,
which is a lot shorter than I would have said a week or two ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, it would have been 7. Easy, if not more. But yeah, I think 4.5 is in a good range. Ottawa and the Riders. This is a good one. This will be inside 3. This has to be inside 3.
I was going to say 3. I say Sask -3.
Yeah, I can see it opening there. And then Montreal-Toronto, buddy, the second half of that Saturday game, or double dip.
So Montreal was a 2.5 point favorite in Ottawa on the weekend?
Yeah, in Ottawa.
Let's go Montreal -3.5.
All right, I think they're up. Let me see. Nope, they're not up yet. Okay. All right, well, we'll get to them tomorrow. Montreal -3.5, you said, on the road?
Yeah.
Now, that's probably fair when you look at where it was in that Ottawa game. And both sides of the ball, Montreal played pretty well on this past weekend in week 16. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999 is where you can get in. Lock Shop Poker Series, event number 2, happening tomorrow. Myself, Haas will have $100 bounties on our heads. A few of the other guys, Remo from WST, Awanik from EST, they too will have bounties on their heads. If you've not yet signed up for the tournament, start to pre-register now. It's been up for a little while, obviously. Just go to coolbet.com, download the poker software, and just search Lock Shop. I did it last night. I registered last night. Just search Lock Shop, and the tournament will pop up. You click register. It's about $30 to get in. And we'll have a good time. Now, Huss, I have set it up because last time we didn't stream it at all. I think eventually we like to stream multiple tables, but I have set up. I will stream my table tomorrow night. I've got it set up in the basement at my house. I tested it last night. I think I'm good to go. I'll be able to block my cards so nobody can see them. So people who's at my table can't slide in. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how this one goes. I go in with the sole purpose of tracking down and eliminating Matthew Awanik. And
I want to do the same to Remus.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. So we're in. You know what? Well, I'll split a bounty with you. If you take out Awanik, or if I take out Remo, we'll split the bounties.
Beers at ENC next time you're in town to call a Bomber game.
Chicken teddies at ENC. No, but it's going to be a good time. If you played in the last one, you know how fun it was. It was a really good time. And for everybody who kind of wants to creep a bit, I will be streaming tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on our YouTube channel here at EST. And I said it's going to change my whole life. Like, I'm going to stream one poker tournament and I'm going to be off the air. I'm going to be done doing play-by-play. And I'm just going to become lifetime poker stream guy, which I'm partially excited for, buddy. I'm not going to lie. I've been talking today about what I'm going to wear. I think I'm going to go sunglasses, backwards hat, maybe some headphones, even though they don't serve a purpose. And in honor of the movie Rounders, I plan on having an entire bag of Oreos, but I'll be dipping them in milk as opposed to opening them up like Teddy KGB. So I'm fully invested in becoming poker streamer guy tomorrow night, and we'll see how it goes.
Coolbet posted an hour ago a clip that I did about the poker tourney from
Beautiful.
Winnipeg Sports Talk. So you can check that up. And then there's a link right there. I just retweeted it. So at Hustlerama, give me a follow as well, you ESTers.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
And just a little synopsis of how it's going to work. But we had so much fun the first time. I was out at the games on the weekend, or at the Jet game, and then obviously watching the Bomber game, and was getting beaked by a few people from the area that are looking forward to trying to take me out, as well as the rest of us with the bounties. So anyways, if you haven't already, download that poker app. Just, go to Coolbet, click on poker, download it, get it on your computer, and then search Lock Shop in the tournaments. And again, it is 9 p.m. Winnipeg time, 8 p.m. Edmonton time on Tuesday. Do not think differently. The site is on a different time zone. Let's not get time zoned. It'll say the 25th at 4 or something like that. But if you're in Edmonton, if you're in the Mountain time zone, it's 8 p.m. start. If you're here in the Central time zone, in and around Winnipeg or Manitoba, a 9 p.m. start. And I cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow night. And again, it's perfect on Tuesday to occupy us in between one of these few dark nights with no football.
Matt says, will Dusty have full-on commentary? Yes, I'll have the mic going and everything, and I'll be commenting on other players' hands and everything. And it's going to be fun because I'm not going to let people see my hand. So I could bluff the world. I could bluff the world if I wanted during this tournament. Nobody would know. It's going to be a lot of fun. Join us. It's a good time. Come get those bounties. A few extra bucks kicking around there as well. Let's bring in Pat Greguar. I don't know if P. Greggy's ready. P. Greggy, are you ready for poker stream Dusty guy now? I'm pretty excited about it.
I love it. I think it might be the career move for you, man. I think. Especially after you've hung up the mic for TSN, I just imagine maybe like a little bit of an older, crotchety Dustin Nielson just streaming from his basement with the glasses, the headphones. He's got all his Coolbet bracelets from all the years that he's won the EST Division Championship, because that is a title. No, I will give it to Aquatic. I regret doing it because it's gone to his head. So that's the last time I ever take his side.
Yeah, don't do that.
So I'm looking forward to it, though. I'm obviously not playing, but I'm going to be watching. There's no doubt about that. I'll be watching tomorrow night.
How are you feeling about tonight? Because we are coming out of a hell of a weekend for the Lock Shop. CFL parlay cash. Yes, thank you. I did go 4-0 against the spread. We hit the money line parlay yesterday. Listen, if the Saints don't have the clown car moment where they all run into each other and spring Dallas Goedert for 60 yards on a 3rd and 16, we're running the table of literally everything that we picked yesterday. But tonight, all the intrigue is on the house callers parlay, because my guy Aaron Jones got in early. Then we had D. Henry. We had Gibbs on that beautiful hook and ladder. And now it's a guy that I'm very high on, James Cook. We need James Cook tonight at plus 1125 for the people, Patty. That is your selection from your team. That's always a risky scenario. What's the vibe check right now going into Monday night?
Yeah, I don't know what to be more nervous about this game for the Bills against the Jaguars team that's desperate and, historically, at least the last couple of years that they have matched up, have played pretty well against them. Or is it the pressure of
It's the pressure of the house callers, buddy. It's not even close. I mean, nothing against your Bills passion, but let's be honest here. This is over 11-1. Like, don't let us down.
I mean, the Bills, if they drop one here, I'll be disappointed, but like the season's not nuked here. Definitely would love a victory here. But the fact that it's on my team, I was the last pick. I cowered out, and I was a bit of a coward move, but in my defense, I think immediately Jake's pick was one of mine. And then I think Huss, one of his picks, his backup pick even was. So I think I had 4 picks on the board. 3 of them were picked between you 3 there. So, which is great because they all cashed. So I'm looking through, I tried to check some of those other Sunday games. I'm like, you know what? Let's go to Monday. Let's have some breathing room. And, part of me was like, maybe there's a chance that this thing's dead before we get to Monday. So it's not my fault. Here we are, all the pressure in the world. I've got James Cook in fantasy as well. So that's a lot of pressure on me there. And I think if Jimmy cooks, that probably means that this Bills team's coming out with a win. So a lot of pressure coming down on one player, on one team, on one leg of the house callers.
If you missed out on the house callers but want to get in on the final leg with us, James Cook is even money, plus 100 to get into the end zone. The only players that have a shorter number than Cook are Josh Allen at minus 125 and Travis Etienne from the Jags at minus 110. And then it's the plus 100. I love the pick. Actually. I'm feeling really good about this. I think, as I say, I have James rostered in fantasy, and I think he's a guy that literally was a little slept on going into the season, knowing the Bills, what's happened with the receiving core. This is a guy that I predict by the end of the year, obviously you got to stay healthy for this, is definitely in the top 5 running backs in fantasy, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's top 3 by the time things end up. So all that being said, tonight's the night we need to see him get into the end zone to make an amazing week 3 in the lock shop even better.
That would be pretty phenomenal.
You're totally right. Like, I do think he's slept on. Obviously, you look at his numbers last year in the Bills, not until that second half of the year where they go out and fire their offensive coordinator and pick up Joe Brady or internally hire him from quarterback coach. That's when they really started to lean on the run a little bit more. He finished with over, I think it was like 1,100 rushing yards for the year. Didn't have a ton of touchdowns, but that's because Josh Allen was running them all in last year. He's doing it with his arm, which definitely is scary anytime you bet a Bills touchdown, because there's a good chance that just JA-17 runs it in himself and dives into the end zone. But I think last game against Miami, it showed how committed the Bills are to establishing the run early on. And I think that's going to be the case here again tonight.
Man, the chat is hilarious right now. Matt Hyman, shout out to Matt. We'll see you on WST in an hour. Huss's thoughts on Iwanek referring to him as EST poker champ.
Does Remo do that? He finished second. Is he referring to himself as the Winnipeg Sports Talk poker champion?
No, he's just referred to him as the runner-up of the Lock Shop tournament.
Exactly. Thank you.
I was tired at that point. I got a little aggressive. As far as the house callers parlay, Jake says, if James Cook scores, I'll be emailing both EST and WST my resume. I guess there might be a few of us on this one, this one tonight. I will say this though, Pat. I think we can firmly say that if this doesn't, like, I have a worry, and you know how things can sort of blow up on you. This is going to be the night that Dalton Kincaid gets 3 touchdowns and prevents Cook from going in. Of course, Kincaid was the culprit in a 3 of 4 in week number 1. So if Cook doesn't get in, I think you'll be banned from picking Bills for the next little while. It cannot be a Buffalo Bill.
I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if I get relegated and not even allowed on the card. And if 3-man play for a week, it might actually have to happen if that's the case. But yes, I think regardless what happens tonight, even if Jimmy Cook gets in the end zone in the first drive of the game, I think I'm done picking Bills for the year, at least for a little while here. It's just too much stress. I have enough stress on my plate as it is. I don't need one of my Buffalo Bills letting down, not just you guys, because I know I'm going to hear it in the group chat, but I'm going to hear it in the nasty chat. I'm going to hear it in the mentions. I'm going to hear it everywhere. I'm going to hear it absolutely everywhere.
Well, let's just think positively. Let's keep you being able to pick in the parlay, able to pick the Bills, and get this James Cook one tonight. Well, listen, let's get to Monday night for a minute. Patty, I mean, you know this team well, and you mentioned, I'm not sure people realize just how tough the Jags have played the Bills over the last few seasons when these teams have matched up.
Yeah, some really weird and ugly games, especially the last two that come to mind. The Bills it was the London game a couple of seasons ago. It was just like an absolute nightmare of a game for Bills fans. Bills somehow finding a way to losing that one. I think it was like 25-20. That was back in 2023. And then the time before that, I don't know if people remember this, but the Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Buffalo Bills 9-6. 9-6. Just an all-time.
Someone that got the ticket that night, and that would be you for over 3.5 field goals.
Yeah, that certainly was not a primetime game. I can tell you that much. But it was an ugly game, a gross game. A game that you could really, really forget about. I think the Bills were like 5-2 going into the game. The Jags were maybe only had one win. And it was a really, really ugly loss that kind of spiraled their season for a bit. They ended up getting back on track and figuring it out later on in the season. But I just remember it was during that November, right before they hit December and really went on that run. And obviously we know what happened in the playoffs, but they turned things around eventually. So I am a little bit weary. I do also think, though, this Jaguars team, even just take away the history, like this is a Jaguars team that has not met expectations, whether they're deserving of those expectations or not. And they're a team that's 0-2. They're really hungry. So the 5.5 is a really weird number. I always talk about how the non-football numbers scare me. Much would rather bet a 3.5, a 6.5. But the 5.5, that just leads me to believe there's going to be some funny business going on in this game, a backdoor cover, whatever it may be. So I'm not going to give out a pick. Obviously, I know. I think that if the Bills are to come out fast and score, they do a really good job of controlling the clock. One thing I'll give Joe Brady a nice job that he's done since coming in. He doesn't have just one game script coming into things. Like he is prepared. Whereas, if it ends up being that the Jags are firing on all cylinders, they're going to go out there and allow Josh Allen to throw the rock around. If they feel like the defense is playing well, much like what we saw in the second half of the first game and the entire game against the Dolphins, I could see them really slowing things down, run the ball a lot with James Cook, little dip and ducks, check down passes. Don't see Josh Allen really use his feet. And I could see this being an under. But if the Jaguars come out firing and are able to score a couple of quick ones on the Bills, I think throw that game plan out and it's let Josh be Josh himself and kind of attack this Jaguars defense, which I do think have some vulnerabilities in compared to some seasons previously.
I mean, I was just going to quickly point out that according to the trends here, considering the 5.5 point dog for the Jags, Commanders are 7-point dogs. Huss, what'd you say earlier today? Dogs of 5.5 have covered the 13-2.
13-2, and we're 4-0 yesterday straight up.
Straight up. That blows my mind. I mean, I'd be very surprised if that trend continues with both games tonight. Maybe with one. I don't know.
Here's something that I would consider. Sorry. Go ahead.
Say, Patty, before we brought on, I don't know if you caught this. I would love to have known what the number would have been on a money line parlay of the Panthers, the Broncos, the Giants, and the Rams all together. I mean, they were all huge underdogs. Like, I doubt anyone had the stones to actually put that one together, but I would love to know what was actually available. Because, I mean, every one of those teams was like a big money line underdog, like plus 350, plus 400 sort of thing. And when you have that many in a day, there's the potential for a huge one.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers. Maybe Jake's able to pull it up, but I definitely would have been a really big number. You'd have to be crazy to even think of it at this point. But I think this is the start of the year that we're seeing a lot in the NFL. I, again, don't have the numbers in front of me, but this is where we see some of the big upsets. Once like week 4, 5 rolls around, that's when Vegas is really dialed in. That's when the books can really get a read on things. Like, let's not forget, like, we went from being in a quarterback first, pass first, all out offense to now all of a sudden the run game and defense is winning in Supremes. I don't know if the book has really been able to adjust that with a lot of their models just yet. So allow that data to come out. It's going to be, just give it some time. Give it some time. The dogs will eventually find its level, and we'll start to see favorites cover at a higher rate. But I mean, if you think the trend continues, or you're maybe at least even a little bit afraid to see if that trend continues, I'd be curious. I'm not going to do it because it's the Bills. I don't like to bet on them or against them. Jags and Commanders, a 6-point teaser. You get the Jags all the way up to 11.5, and then the Commanders at 13. It's at -120. So that would be something that, if you really don't know what side you think the trend could potentially continue, but you want a little bit of insurance, that teaser is also in play. Patty G's tease went 1 for 1. The first one that I made cashed with relative ease. I knew the second tease was a bad idea, Huss. After it came on the program, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put another tease out there. That one got smoked, but the first one cashed. So teasers have been pretty good for me so far. So I would maybe consider that. But again, for me, it's a stay away. I'm probably just going to play a few props in this game. In the other game, Bengals Commanders, I obviously won't be as dialed in watching it because the Bills will be playing, but there's a few other props and plays that I think you can find some value there as well.
Well, I'm sort of with you, Dusty. I mean, I'm not going away from these trends right now. I mean, with the underdogs, and we've been, 3 of our picks, which were referred to as some of the stinkiest picks ever, all cashed.
Yep.
With the Broncos,
with
the Giants, and with the Panthers. And listen, I believe, like, when you see teams that traditionally play really tight games with others, I ride with that. So, I like the points with the Jags. And, the Commanders, like, I don't know whether this could be just like a little backdoor and Jalen Daniels is getting a ton of garbage time fantasy points in the second half. I'd still think that the jury's out on Cincinnati. And listen, I know they played the Chiefs really tough. They always do. They rise to that occasion. They also sometimes look very, very pedestrian against some teams that you think that they should be beating. So, I'm not laying a big number with Cincinnati. I kind of went in the middle, like a hybrid of your tease, Pat. And what I did was, like, with the Commanders right now, the Commanders plus 7.5, -114. The Jags, if you take it up to plus 7.5, it's at -164. So I've actually
I like that, actually.
7.5 points for both teams. You put it together, and it's more than 2-1. It's at plus 202. So I actually just bet that as we are live right now. I just tweaked the Jags-Bills line to 7.5. So getting more than a touchdown for both road teams, put those together plus 202. That's going to be my play today. However, I will be firmly in the middle of the James Cook prayer circle as we get ready for kickoff tonight in that game in Orchard Park between the Jags and the Bills.
Well, what's interesting on this one is a lot of people are expecting Joe Burrow. I think, like, from a fantasy perspective, he was number 2 or 3 on, projections this week. They're expecting him to absolutely torch the Commanders secondary. But the Bengals have also been susceptible to the run this year. And we know, the Commanders could very well try to, not control the pace of this game, but keep Joe Burrow off the field as much as possible. So I think I'd lean to where I hopped on Huss's play too. The 7.5 and 7.5. I think that's a real smart move. I would be on the Commanders plus the 7. I'd probably be on the Jags plus the 5 anyway. Earlier on our show this morning, it is available in the combo cards at the top at coolbet.com right now. We just put together a little Monday Night Football parlay. It's been boosted up to 561. It's not that difficult. It's James Cook touchdown, and then Bengals money line, and a Jaden Daniels rushing touchdown. He did not run the ball as much as we expected in week 2. Robinson had a great game. I think his total tonight's at 49.5 yards. I don't hate the idea of a Jaden Daniels touchdown. So if you want to ride with us on that one, Daniels TD, James Cook TD and the Bengals kind of from both games put it together. It was 489, boosted up to plus 561. Are we going to build like a hybrid parlay for the two games tonight? Sort of. I think that'd be fun to see what we do. What do you think, Huss?
Well, I actually was just putting down a. I wish I'd maybe gotten up a little earlier and jumped on it. The Daniels rushing total is 51.5 now.
Oh, so yeah, it's moved up two yards
like
this morning.
I still like it though. I think I like the total a little bit more than the touchdown, just because Brian Robinson is such a beast down in the goal line, and I do think that it's important for Washington if they can avoid some of those big time collisions with their prized quarterback on the goal line and give it to their tank in the backfield. I think that's probably the way they go. So of the two Jaden Daniels props, I like the over on the rushing yards more, especially if it does come to a situation where they're down by a couple touchdowns late. I mean, I think you're going to see Cincinnati play off a little bit, and he'll take advantage of that. Like I could see, if they are playing from behind, I think we could see a big.
He could pick up 30 yards in a drive even in the fourth quarter of this game, right? Yeah, no, I like. So you want to throw Jaden Daniels over 51.5 into a parlay?
Yep. That's I think that's what I would like. I would say the James Cook touchdown, but we've got enough.
Yeah.
We've got enough.
Let's not
tonight.
Please no. I've got a James Cook prop. I mean, I can go back to the Jags Bills game. I like James Cook over 16.5 reception yards. He's actually gone over this in 7 of his last 9 regular season games, including 2 this year. Josh Allen has really liked using him out of the backfield. So I like him there. I also like Khalil Shakir over 45.5 reception yards. I also like over 3.5 receptions for him. He is that comfort blanket for Josh Allen. He has become wide receiver number 1. He might not come up with the big sexy catches that maybe a Coleman or a Kincaid might come up with, but when in doubt, Khalil Shakir. So I'm going to go either one of those props. I haven't built my Patty's parlay just yet, but I imagine I'll probably throw that in there. And then the Commanders game. Funny you mentioned the Daniels rushing yard. I had that as well. I actually even though I don't like normally putting 2 players in the same category, like multiple players for rushing yards on the same team or reception yards or receptions. But you mentioned Robinson Jr. That dude is an absolute beast. So I like him over 54.5 yards. But if we wanted to pivot, I was surprised this morning to see his touchdown number at plus 163. I thought it would be closer to even money, considering what you were saying about him, being that goal line presence. So I like him for a touchdown as well. So I know I just threw out a lot there, but those would probably be my 4 favorite picks.
I like of the ones that you just threw in. I like I love the over 16.5 receiving yards of James Cook. And I'll tell you what, if we want to do the over 3.5 for Shakir, I think that's both of those I think are great picks that will pop in. Where are you at, Dusty?
Well, I don't hate Ertz over 2.5 catches. It's not a great number. It's like -1, I don't know, minus 180 or something. But he's been over that. He's been targeted 4 times in both games. Caught all 4. He's got 7 of the 8 targets that he's been throwing so far this year. So I don't hate that one. We already got, we're already on that game a little bit. Where do we come out on a Travis Etienne touchdown? That's at -110. We could throw that in there as well.
I'm still mad at Etienne for that fumble on the goal line.
That was a killer.
Against Miami.
That was a killer. Patty, what was Kincaid up to in week 2? They kind of got ahead, and he didn't have to play that much in the second. Isn't that basically what happened with Kincaid?
Yeah, really tough to have any sort of judgment on that Bills offense, especially when it came to passing. It was all James Cook in the first half, and then they got up so big, they kind of just put it into neutral. So I wouldn't look into it. But early on, they did start to really find him. So, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it. It's just, like I said, the Bills just the ability to flip the game switch on its head. It just sometimes it's slow and methodical. And then if they find themselves that, okay, we're going to have to open up the offense here, you never know. And it's just Josh Allen unchained. So that's the one thing that Kincaid would kind of scare me. But I think the other 2 are a little safer of plays.
Yeah.
What about what about doing Ertz over 3.5? Because that will be a much closer number to even money. I mean, like it's minus 182 on the 2.5 right now.
Yeah.
But I think if we put it to 3.5, along with with one of those Bills plays and Jaden Daniels rushing, we probably get to a pretty good number. I mean, I like Ertz a lot, and I think he is kind of like what Patty just mentioned about Khalil Shakir for Josh Allen. He's that guy for Daniels right now. So I mean, I think Ertz has a game. I mean, if we want to get a better number, I mean,
we could do that, or I mean, you said you like both of Patty's Bills plays. We could put both of those in, put Ertz over 2.5. And just run with the 4 plays. It's a double header. I mean, it's 2 games tonight. We could do that if we wanted.
I guess that's true. We'd have 2 in the Bills and we'd have 2 in the Washington game.
Yeah, we could do that.
We could definitely do that. I would probably do that rather than wanting to tease up. So let's go with that instead. And you guys prefer do you like the Shakir receptions over the yardage, or would you rather go yardage?
What were the numbers again?
Yeah, it was
3.5
even money, 3.5, and then I think that was closer to like 130. Let me just double check.
Let's see the receiving yards in this game. Shakir minus 110 at over 45.5, and the receptions. Khalil Shakir over 3.5 at minus 143.
Yeah, that one actually has been bet. It actually opened up closer to even money, and a lot of people have been jumping on that one. So it's gone down to minus 143 before we see it move up to.
I think the reception
over 4.5.
Probably the safer play. Like if we're trying to get something that we have a bit better of a chance of winning, like the Ertz and the Shakir reception numbers.
Okay.
We'll go with the yards on James Cook because that really can come in one play.
Yeah.
And we saw that before. Pacheco did the same thing for us a couple weeks ago. Where we had him on the over and he just went and grabbed that. And then the Jaden Daniels. Tell you what, why don't we do the Daniels 49.5? Just like what that original number was.
Okay.
And then he needs 50 yards on the ground.
Man, if we win this because he just gets to 50, legendary call at the end of the show, Huss. I love it.
Yes.
Jaden Daniels over 49.5. Cook over 16.5 receiving yards, Shakir over 3.5 catches, Ertz over 2.5 catches, and of course, field goal props in both games.
Yeah, it's actually great that you mentioned it because you can play them individually, but because it's a doubleheader, we figured we had to get some exclusives out there as well. Combo card up right now called Field Goal Frenzy. That's just a straight parlay for Jags, Bills over 3.5 field goals, and then Bengals, Commanders over 3.5. That one's boosted from 362 to 415, so 415. Pretty good number there. And then this one, not as good as a number, but definitely fun as well. The Kickapalooza, 7 combined field goals in tonight's games, plus 150. Really like the clean 150 number there. So a little bit of insurance. Maybe if we saw Washington not afraid to kick the field goals, they might be able to cash that in that own game itself. So doubleheader in prime time. We had to get some exclusives for the folks.
I love it.
Beautiful Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up in 4.5 minutes. I'm sure it'll be a Winnipeg Blue Bombers victory lap, Huss.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of excitement about the Bomber game. I am disappointed. Well, listen, I'm fired up to go to Prez Cup later on this week. I am disappointed I'm not going to be.
Oh, you're not going to be at Princess Auto on Friday, yeah.
It's going to be wild. We'll find somewhere good to watch it out there in Montreal. But it should be fun. I'll talk some Jets, talk some Bombers, break down the NFL as well with Remus and Connor. And then, Dusty, I know you're a big fan of CFL 110. Because Hammer's off to Mexico for a few days and I'm going to Montreal, we've already recorded it. So it's coming out early, right after Winnipeg Sports Talk today. CFL 110, the latest edition coming out of just a wild weekend in the Canadian football, looking down the stretch. So that'll be up there too. Check out the YouTube. Give us a sub over at Winnipeg Sports Talk on YouTube. And that'll be there live right after WST coming up in just a couple minutes.
Good luck to the Bills tonight, Patty. Hope they get it done for you, buddy. Just not by more than 5.5. Thank you very much. For us, P. Greggy, I'm Dusty. Oil Stream coming out with myself and the birthday boy, Tommy Gazzola. Winnipeg Sports Talk over on the WST channel. We'll talk to you in a couple of minutes right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.